Hello and welcome, it's Ruth here at artfulstampin.co.uk, and this is a little bit of a different video than normal. It's pre-recorded, which for me is a little bit unusual at the moment, but I spent Sunday afternoon just having a little bit of creative time doing something that, I wouldn't normally do. I'd had this kit from last year's celebration lying around in my craft room, just waiting for a couple of hours where I was free to be able to do something like this with. I knew I wanted to do some sort of altered art with it because I love the images, I love the colours, and even the little kind of sticky sentiments in French I really loved, and just wanted to do something. So when I was YouTube hopping maybe about a week or so ago, I came across a fellow YouTuber who does a lot of altered art, and she mentioned she had a Facebook group, so I went and joined, and I kind of felt I wanted to just join a Facebook group because this one has to do with mixed media that was just a bit different from ones that I've already either am a member of or I've set up, to kind of give myself a bit of creative space to do something different. So I decided to join it, and this lady has teamed up with another mixed media artist, and they every month have been giving these prompts. So this month's prompt is to create what they would call a masterboard. So it's where you take vintage items, scrap bits of dictionary, pictures, ephemera, whatever you fancy, and you just create a piece of work that you would then use to either photocopy or take a photo of and use and reproduce, and then create more things from it. So you wouldn't necessarily cut this piece up, because this is your masterpiece, your masterboard, as it were. This is your, you would just keep that, and then you would create from it. So I had every intention of kind of doing that, so that's what I started. And then as the afternoon wore on, I ended up sticking more and more stuff on it. So anyway, here I am. Sorry, I've not even described what I'm doing. Here I am sticking various bits of paper down. I've hardly made a dent in the kit, to be honest. I've got plenty left, because I actually used one of the insides. I ripped open an envelope, and because the envelope had some pretty pattern on the inside, I used a lot of that. So if you're having a think and you think, oh, I want to have a go at this, just grab any scrap pretty paper you like. It doesn't have to even be scrapbooking paper. It can be the inside of an envelope, or the inside of an old book, or wrapping paper, or whatever. It doesn't matter. This is not about making anything super pristine, because as the process goes on, I ended up sticking more and more things onto it. So I couldn't not put more 3D. I ended up sticking some thread on, and then going to my stash of other bits and bobs that I have on my shelf that are my non-Stampin' Up things, my contraband. So here I'm stapling some lace on, and I've discovered stapling is just the way to go. It's just so much easier to attach, especially fabric items that have got holes in. Trying to stick that down with glue can be a bit tricky. I know that some mixed media artists use what do they use? That paste stuff. Oh, what's it called? I don't have it yet. I keep meaning to buy some, and then I look at the price and then go, oh no. Oh, multimedia matte, multimedia matte. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. Anyway, you can use that if you want to create a very sturdy piece of work. But because I knew that I would probably end up either framing this or putting it, or using it as a masterboard, I wasn't so concerned about adhering it. So then I raided my stash again and found some other bits of lace and attached that, then got my button jar out and started picking out buttons. Now initially I did want to use that massive, gorgeous, it's almost, I think it might even be mother of pearl button, but I ended up not using it. But this is the fun part of the process. Just because you lay something out doesn't mean you have to use it. You know, it's playing with, you know, different textures and placements. You know, that's part of the fun, to just find something that looks good to you. And I also dug out my old favourite Prima flowers. These were all the rage about 10 years ago, and I still have some left. And the colour scheme just went so lovely with the paper and the card from that Stampin' Up kit. So then I wanted some extra leafy bits, so I have some, they're just like fake leaves basically, and one side they look quite bright and plasticky, but I turned them over and just used the more muted side of them. Then I decided I just can't abide naked buttons. I have to put thread on them. So this actual process of me putting all the thread through took me about 15-20 minutes, because I was knotting them all and then fraying them, and it was worth it. I think it was worth it because it just makes it look a little bit more interesting. So it was my intention all along to then stamp over this piece, and you can see me faffing around with that little piece of ivy because I ended up stamping on the ivy by accident and didn't then know what to do with it. So anyway, I use swirly frames, which is a great set if you're into mixed media work, because it's just got those fabulous, it's got a couple of circles, it's got rectangles and squares, and it's got some straight lines and some dotted lines, and it's just great. So I just went in there with early espresso and stamped wherever I fancied, basically, just to get extra texture in there. And what else? Yeah, so I just ended up moving the flowers out the way, really. And sometimes that can be quite scary. Once you've placed things on your piece of work, I would recommend, if you want to place it exactly back, take a photograph. But I don't know, I took the plunge. I think I just thought, oh well, let's just move all the flowers aside and hope for the best. Hopefully I'll remember roughly where to put them back. So here I'm still stamping. There's, in that swirly frame set, there's like a little dotty piece. It's about 1 inch long. And so I just went in and almost made it look like stamped across where two pieces of paper met. I kind of like stamped across them, so it almost looked like they was being stitched. That was my thinking anyway. I'm not sure it actually looks like that, but that's how it sort of, I was thinking about it. Then I took the silly decision to actually stick all my flowers and buttons down with Tombow, which I regretted afterwards, and so I haven't shown you the whole process of me sticking everything down, because I should really have got my heat tool out, my glue gun rather. But anyway, then I decided to grab the fabulous, very vintage, very Versailles stamp that has all the script on it, and basically shoved it on my hand and just, you know, stamped and stamped and stamped all over my piece, because I wanted more texture. I wanted a less clean look. Then I thought, I want more texture, so I grabbed also the frame from that same set that's got those lovely kind of scrolls in it, and just used my fingers and just stamped wherever, and twisted it and turned it, and so that it's almost like you've got these fragments of images sort of peeking out from the flowers and, you know, hiding and, you know, appearing out of nowhere. So that seemed to work. And then I wanted to put a few butterflies on it, because I have in my head who I'd like to give this to, and I know that she likes butterflies. So I grabbed Mary Mallow, but then after a couple of stampings I realised it was a little bit too dark, and then went back in with some Poppy Parade and stamped some more butterflies. So then, what did I do next? Oh yes, I remember now. So because I then thought, oh, I've got a friend whose birthday's coming up and I think she'd like this, I thought it'd be nice to put some words on it, because just looking at it, it kind of, yes, it's pretty, yes, it's got lots of flowers and butterflies on it, but it doesn't, to me at this point, it doesn't really hold much meaning. So I decided that I would put some words on it, and I used an old gadget that Stampin' Up used to sell, and you can create a similar look with, you know, just a font on a Word document, or if you've got some letter stamps, you can do this. I just stamped out the fruit of the spirit, so it's love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness and self-control, and I stamped those out. Right, now you can see there's a frame in front of my work, and that's because I remembered that I had a frame that I'd purchased for a different project but hadn't used it, and realised that that would look really nice around the piece, because even though I have and will use the photos that I've taken of this, actually the original piece I want to have framed. So then I stuck all the words down with my hot glue, and actually I don't think I've edited it out. I then actually stuck down some of the flowers that were not quite as adhered as I wanted them to be. So I kind of secured some things down properly, and then stuck all the words down. So this is an interesting process, and I found that, you know, particularly with the word peace, there's love, joy and peace, I did have patience underneath it, and I kept playing with it, because if I'd put it there, it would have hidden two really cute butterflies. So I ended up moving it up to be with kindness. And on reflection, I sort of, looking at it, I'm really happy with it, because peace just sort of sits on its own, and in a way peace needs to sit on its own, because it needs to be peaceful and not have anything around it. So I quite like how that all worked out, and that's one of the nice things about doing work like this, is that you don't really know what, where or how or what, or, you know, quite how it's going to look, but it's really about the process as well as the finished result. You know, it's just about, you know, looking at it and looking for gaps and looking for, you know, I know I use the word juxtaposition quite a lot in my descriptions, but it really is about looking at how colours are next to each other and what would make them stand out, and yeah, and almost creating these little moments of art within a larger piece of artwork. So then I decided I wanted some extra little bits of glam, so I just raided some of my retired little epoxy dots and just I stuck one green one on each of the ivy leaves, so it looks as if each ivy leaf has a little dewdrop on it. And then I also stuck some little red ones around the place as well. So thank you so much for joining me on this interesting but very creative journey, and I hope you've enjoyed watching my process. Do have a go yourself. It's possibly something that I'm really going to do again, because I loved it so much, and I'm also looking into, you know, creating separate bits of artwork that can be, you know, printed and actually sold. So I wouldn't actually be able to sell any of the prints I take from this, because it uses Stampin' Up product, but I really enjoyed the process. So right, enjoy the photos, and please join me again soon. Please subscribe if you haven't. Bye.